10 harsh realities of rewatching Tom Cruise's Jack Reacher movies today. Before Prime Video's Reacher chronicled the adventures of the eponymous drifter and former military policeman in a serialized format, Reacher was previously brought to life in a pair of live-action movies with Mission Impossible star Tom Cruise, charged with playing him in 2012's Jack Reacher and 2016's Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. Based on Lee Child's Reacher novels, the television show has been warmly received by fans and critics alike, with many lauding Alan Ritchson's pitch-perfect casting and the show's serialized take on its long-running source material as notable highlights. However, it hasn't always been sunshine and lollipops for popular culture's most famous crime-fighting hobo. Tom Cruise's Reacher movies didn't work for several reasons, a harsh reality that swiftly becomes apparent upon rewatching them in the wake of Reacher's historic and ongoing success. It wasn't until the rave reviews for Alan Ritchson's take on the character in Prime Video's Reacher came pouring in that it became apparent just how badly Tom Cruise's casting as Jack Reacher had been misjudged. A literal man-mountain, the visual of the hulking Ritchson lent instant legitimacy to his new charge, a man described in Lee Child's novels as standing 6'5", weighing more than 250 pounds, and possessing hands the same size as dinner plates. By contrast, Cruise's diminutive build meant that he was a woefully misjudged choice to play Child's behemoth drifter from the get-go. Even if one were to discount the comical disparity between the former MP's description in the books and Cruise's physical appearance, the actor was simply the wrong fit for Reacher's personality as Child envisioned him. This state of affairs becomes even more apparent when contrasted with the textbook ease with which Alan Ritchson plays the character of Reacher. The star of franchises like Mission Impossible and Top Gun, Tom Cruise is as close to a bona fide cinematic action hero as one is likely to find. As such, it may seem harsh to argue that his casting as Jack Reacher is so unbelievable that it notably detracts from the movie's sense of legitimacy, but it's the unfortunate truth. Reacher's borderline superhuman physicality is inextricably linked with his sense of identity, providing him with an inimitable presence and aura that Cruise ultimately doesn't possess. A terrifying vessel of strength and ass-kicking abilities who can't be bullied or beaten, Reacher is supposed to be a presence who instantly commands the respect and attention of any room he enters. He's every bad guy's nightmare, which is something Cruise's unassuming build simply fails to capture, particularly when compared against Ritchson's physique. When Prime Video's Reacher dropped in February 2022, it didn't just reintroduce audiences to Lee Child's hulking, nomadic vigilante, it quietly rewrote how we see action heroes on screen. The series, anchored by Alan Ritchson's faithful and towering portrayal of Jack Reacher, managed to do something few modern reboots can claim. It rendered its high-profile cinematic predecessors awkward, outdated, and, frankly, a little embarrassing. To be clear, the two Tom Cruise-led Jack Reacher films, Jack Reacher 2012 and Jack Reacher, Never Go Back 2016, weren't disasters. They were competent thrillers in their own right. Cruise brought his trademark intensity and precision to the role, and director Christopher McQuarrie crafted taut, serviceable set pieces. At the time, they satisfied both casual viewers and some fans of the sprawling 20-plus book series. But hindsight, sharpened by Prime Video's TV show, hasn't been kind. Simply put, the movies have aged poorly. And it's Prime Video's fault. A matter of scale. First and foremost, there's the matter of scale, both literal and figurative. In Child's novels, Jack Reacher is a 6'5", 250-pound slab of intimidation. He is often described as a man-mountain whose very presence dissolves conflicts before they begin. Tom Cruise, at 5'7" and of wiry frame, simply couldn't embody that physicality, no matter how convincing his stunt work or how expensive the camera angles. Alan Ritchson's casting course corrected this in dramatic fashion. Not only does Ritchson look like Reacher, square-jawed, broad-shouldered, with the casual menace of a freight train, but the show leans into this. Scenes that were merely functional in the films now hum with palpable tension thanks to his size alone. Watching Ritchson dismantle 5 attackers with stoic efficiency in a dim Georgia bar has an authenticity the slick choreography of the Cruise films could never quite capture. It's the difference between plausible threat and cinematic flair, tone and texture, Beyond physicality, the TV series captures something deeper, the novel's wandering, almost Western-like tone. Lee Child's Reacher drifts from town to town, untangling small-town conspiracies and meting out brutal justice before slipping off into the horizon like a modern-day gunslinger. The films, particularly Never Go Back, overcompensated with global stakes, convoluted military backstories, and a cinematic polish that felt more Bourne than Reacher. Prime Video's adaptation isn't afraid to slow down. It luxuriates in dusty diners, rain-slicked sidewalks, and quietly suspicious townsfolk. There's an episodic rhythm to Reacher's investigations that aligns more closely with the novel's DNA. In contrast, revisiting the films now feels like watching a square peg rammed into a round blockbuster hole, hurried, glossy, and slightly dissonant. Character nuance. Then there's Reacher himself. Cruise's interpretation leaned heavily into cold competence, bordering on aloofness. His Reacher was cerebral and calculating, but often lacked the dry wit and sardonic humor that made the character so beloved on the page. Richson's Reacher strikes a far more balanced chord. Yes, he's a bruiser with a photographic memory and Sherlockian deduction skills. But he's also quietly funny, disarmingly polite, and even charming in his deadpan way. His laconic delivery, "I don't like trouble, but it sure likes me," lands with a twinkle that Cruise's version rarely allowed. This depth makes a surprising difference. In the films, Reacher often felt like an action figure plucked out of his packaging for a 2-hour sprint. In the show, he's a wandering knight-errant with quirks, habits, and an underlying code of ethics. The movies, in comparison, now feel emotionally thin. The supporting cast. Another nail in the cinematic coffin is the ensemble around Reacher. The Prime Video series invests heavily in building out fully realized supporting characters. Willa Fitzgerald's Roscoe Conklin and Malcolm Goodwin's Oscar Finley, for instance, don't just orbit Reacher, they have agency, backstories, and evolving relationships with him. By contrast, the films, especially Never Go Back, struggle to give their side characters real weight. Cobby Smulders Turner and Danica Yarish's Samantha served narrative purposes, but were never given the breathing room the show affords its ensemble. Revisiting the films now, these characters feel underwritten and disposable. A modern sensibility, perhaps most damning for the films, is how the TV series reflects a shift in what audiences want from their heroes. In the 2010s, invincible lone wolf protagonists were par for the course. Today's viewers crave authenticity, vulnerability, and realism, qualities that Richson's Reacher, for all his stoic muscle, delivers in spades. He bleeds, he reflects, and he doesn't always have the upper hand. Moreover, the show's structure allows for richer world building and longer-form storytelling. What feels rushed or simplistic in a 2-hour film blooms in an 8-episode arc. Complex villains, layered conspiracies, and moral gray areas have room to breathe. When fans return to the Cruise films now, the pacing feels abrupt, the plotlines compressed. Legacy and loyalty. Finally, there's a meta layer of fan loyalty that can't be ignored. For years, hardcore Reacher readers grumbled about Cruise's miscasting. Even Lee Child, diplomatic though he was, admitted that Cruise didn't have that physicality. Prime Video's Reacher feels like an apology and an acknowledgement to those fans. It respects the source material in a way the films, constrained by Hollywood,